Hi, this is Luigi Sottile. I play Sean Archer on Chicago Med, and you're listening to Men and Family Chats.
Hey guys, welcome back to FFC. I'm Maureen.
I'm Jeanette.
I'm Amanda.
And today we are very excited to be talking with Luigi Sottile today from Chicago Universe.
Yes, hi, thank you.
Yeah.
Now, he appeared in an episode of PD and an episode of Med. And I did want to point out, that worked really well for Brian T. So maybe you're going to have a Brian T story arc because he was in that one of PD.
Yeah.
And it was on Med forever. That's Sean's arc right there.
One can only hope, I kind of take it day by day. I started off I only thought I was going to be on 3 episodes of this, and it kept being more. So I'm grateful to be there whenever they need.
So what you're saying is the fans need to continually write in and start petitions to keep Sean Archer a part of the show so you never go away.
Well, I wasn't trying to lay it on thick, but
we'll get that done. Yeah. So yes. Jeanette has some questions that we're going to start off with for you.
Okay, great.
Yeah. So our first question, what was it that drew you to acting in the first place?
Oh, I was tricked into it.
Okay.
I cannot wait to hear this story.
Right. Yeah. I really wanted to be a film director. Hands down. I love movies. They've always been a really special part of my life and a wonderful escape. So I really wanted to do it. I made my own films when I was a kid with my friends around the neighborhood. Just stupid films. There weren't even any script. It was just here's the general idea. Go. But a teacher of mine in high school caught wind that I was doing this, and she's since passed, but her name is Ann Moyles, and she knew I also came from a music background. My mother was a music teacher when I was a kid, and I could carry a tune. And she came up to me and asked if I wanted to be in the school plays, and I said, absolutely not. Absolutely. And she said, I hear you want to be a film director, and I was like, yeah. She's like, well, how are you gonna direct films if you don't know how to act, or how are you gonna direct actors if you don't know how to act?
Ooh.
Yeah, she really as a young guy at that time, I was like, damn it. Okay. So I said, what the hell? And I auditioned for Rodgers and Hammerstein's Cinderella.
Ooh.
My junior year of high school, and I landed the role of the king, and I just loved it. I loved doing it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So,
and I've been doing it ever since. I caught the real bug for it. I knew I wanted to. I wasn't much of a musical person. I still really am not, even though I enjoy seeing them. It just doesn't have the same effect on me. But I knew I wanted to go to school to be a serious actor, and that's what I did. Doing ever since.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So would you say that you prefer being on the stage, or do you prefer the TV and film industry? Which one? I mean, I know they're a little different.
No, it's a great question, and they are very different. And it's a little difficult to answer because I've done so much more stage.
Mm-hmm.
And this being on screen is fairly new to me, but I love learning new things, and the technique of being on screen and in front of a camera fascinates me, and I'm finding myself becoming more confident and more comfortable the more I do it, as a new skill set, and I'm really digging being on camera a little more, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And at the risk of sounding whatever, the money is much better.
Yes, it's true. I mean, you gotta be honest.
Yeah,
definitely. I mean, makes
a
difference.
I've heard it said theater, when you're doing theater, it's like a different play every night because you can alter things in the moment. Did that sort of, because when we watch you on Med, your emotions come across so very real. Did theater sort of help prepare you for that? Did it sort of build you up in that way of moving your emotions in that way on a moment?
In a way, yeah. And you're right about it being different every night, and because you have that audience actor relationship, you can't help but feel them in the room with you, and help with that energy. They're basically another character in the room. With this, it's much different because you don't have an audience, which isn't necessarily true. You do have other people in the room. You have the person that you're acting with, and you know you have to be there for them, and they're your audience, and you have the crew around. So there is an energy, an electricity in the room that is kind of similar to being in theater. The adrenaline is still pumping, but in theater, you really have to make sure, you really got to be on voice. You really got to hit that back row. You really have to convey to every single person who bought that ticket in that room. So when it comes to, portraying that on camera, I actually like a little bit more intimacy. I like the intimacy that camera is what I'm trying to. So you don't have to necessarily push a little bit. You could just let the kind of emotions flow through you a little more natural, I guess you could say.
Yeah. Well, that comes across very much so in your
thanks. Appreciate it. I hope so. I
think that's part of the reason we connected with your character so much, was because of that. Chicago World, let's be real honest, they cycle through characters sort of rapidly in almost a devastating fashion.
I have not really watched it before.
Okay.
When I got the job was the only time I really watched the show, because I wanted to go back a couple of seasons to where Steven started, to where my dad started, and see if there was anything I needed to know, if there was anything about his character or his mannerisms that I can take on for myself, being that I'm his son, to kind of tie in a little bit. So I wasn't really too familiar with the Chicago world until I got this job. I hope I don't get in trouble for saying this. I didn't even watch PD when I got that. Yeah. So, but now I do.
You might get in trouble from Jeanette and I, because that's our favorite. Although we do love Med, but
yeah.
We do. And we would say, even talking about you're going back to watch your dad, we all would agree, we've said it on our podcast several times, that your storyline is when we're finally starting to like your dad, because prior to that, his character was not our favorite. So we're happy that this is happening.
It humanizes him more.
It's kind of great, because when I went back to watch it, I think I had the same reaction that everybody did, but I couldn't help but be like, man, wow, that's what he's doing is so mean. I couldn't help but laugh. I was laughing how mean he was at times. So I'm really honored to be brought on to help kind of soften that and add a little bit more complexity to his character.
Now, I do have a question about that, because I grew up watching Wings. So Steven Weber is when I saw him, I finished Med later than everyone else. So everyone's like, you're going to hate him. You're going to hate him. Like, there's no way I'm going to hate him. That's impossible. I can't hate him.
I know.
So what is it like working with Steven Weber?
Well, first, I think it's just a testament to how great of an actor he is that he can really love and also someone you really hate.
I did hate him.
It's just fantastic. The range that he has, what it's like working with him is incredible. He is very present. He's very giving. He's very sweet. He's very, very funny. I couldn't ask for a better scene partner, really. I grew up watching him too, me and my sister and my family were big Mel Brooks fans. So
yes.
From Dracula Dead and Loving Us. So when I found out that I was playing his son, I was completely over the moon. And when it turns out that he was such a nice guy in person, it made it all the better and more because
Mhm.
it can be nerve-wracking. Again, like I said, I haven't done too much on screen stuff, so it was a little nerve-wracking at first, but
Mhm.
he made me feel so comfortable.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk a little bit about like your time on set of Med now. Like what were your experiences? Do you have any like have you had any favorite memories or anything you just want to share with your time that you've been on the set so far?
Some of my favorite memories on set so far is I I found out that Steven is just as big of cinephile as I am. So we love talking movies in between shots, in between takes, and just sitting around, waiting for them to set up shots and everything. What I'm really digging is now I'm starting to get integrated a little more with the other actors on set, getting to know Jesse, Dr. Asher has been really great. What was it, 2 weeks ago, my episode aired when in the big storm. It's been nice, hanging out with her, chatting with her. She's very, very sweet. It's so funny. They really are a family and a really tight-knit family. And one of the best things is how welcoming they've been toward me. So yeah.
Did
Awesome.
you find the same to be true? And I know you were in one episode of PD, but did you sort of find the same sort of atmosphere on the PD set?
PD was great to work on. PD was more site specific. So there wasn't like a real sense of hanging out with everybody. And I was only a one episode character, so I was just in and out. But not to discard my experience on PD. PD was awesome. They call, I believe, like all the people from fire and PD call the med people Club Med because they never go out. They never have to
No.
be told. It's always mostly in the hospital or in the studio.
We were complaining about that when we were in Chicago.
Yes, yeah, it's too cold here at times. But they you can really tell they have that energy, this very tight knit.
Mhm.
No,
That's cool.
One thing that I thought it was funny, Jeanette, actually, we have chats for all of our groups because we get obsessive. We talk about the shows that we like, and that's how this podcast started, because we can't shut up about the shows that we like. And we figured, why not let everyone hear the insanity that we have coming out of our mouths? But one thing she had said when we found out you were on PD was that was your origin story as Sean Archer.
Sure.
Yeah.
Undercover. I'm secretly undercover. Yeah, right.
But you played this hardcore drug dealer who was kind of skeevy and a little scary.
Yeah.
And then you go to Sean Archer, who is a recovering drug addict. So what was the process that you had to use? Because they're very different characters, Sean Archer and the drug dealer, but they still do have the similarities in the world that they sort of surrounded themselves with. So what was your different approach to those two?
I love Sean because Sean's very complex. There's more room there for a range of different things. And when you do the show, a lot of Sean's backstory and future is very much a mystery. So, I had to come up with, storylines for myself to have things make sense. But also I've enjoyed keeping it a little vague for myself. That way I'm not locked into anything. That way, I don't make the mistake of being like, well, wait a second, I was on this trajectory and what about this? There's a certain amount of openness you have to keep with yourself to like go wherever the writers and producers want you to go. Oh boy. Now for PD, that was, to be honest, I may sound like a bad actor, but that was such a whirlwind that I don't think I thought about it. It was my very first thing on camera. And I was very nervous. And it was just like, rely on your text, lean into it. You only have this one episode, and go. And so for it was such a whirlwind, and so many things were happening. And also because it's network TV, it's like, you know, it's a factory. It's like, let's get it done. It's scheduled. It's like, this is the idea they have for it, and you just go with it.
Mhm.
So there was at that time there wasn't really much room for me for any sort of process. I guess you could say. So yeah, it was very nerve-wracking for me that first time.
Maybe that was beneficial because you didn't come across as nervous.
Oh, thank goodness.
No, I was gonna say, I mean, it's kind of impressive because I mean, I rewatched the episode today just because I was like, okay, I want to jog my memory, even though, like, I'll admit, like, when we found out what episode you were in, we all remembered your character. So, like, I feel like, I mean, kudos, because I think you did a good job portraying what you were trying to portray, and especially hearing that's your first time on screen.
Oh gosh,
It was
thanks.
good.
I have a funny story about that that episode. There's one scene at the end, one of my last scenes, where it's outside and I pull up in this like fancy schmancy car or whatever, you know, sports car, and it was a stick. At that time, didn't know how to drive a stick.
No.
I had to like put my tail between my legs and go up to like the car person and be like, yeah, I how to drive a stick. And he gives me this look like, you serious? And I'm like, yes, I know. Long story, I don't know how to drive a stick. So the sound that you're actually hearing me pulling up was completely added by them, because I just had to keep it in neutral, and they rolled me.
I love that.
It's really hard to feel any kind of badassery when you have like a bunch of people like wheeling you up into the scene.
That's funny.
I'm not gonna be able to watch that scene differently now.
Knowing that now, it's gonna be really fun. Yeah.
I love it.
So you
I can't drive a
mentioned-
stick either.
Oh, I
No.
can't either.
Nope.
So I'd be in trouble. Yeah.
Don't
We'd
feel
all be
alone.
right there with you. Yeah.
Although, have you since learned how to drive one just in case this ever happens again?
Tried to a couple of times.
Mm-hmm.
I still wouldn't say I'm completely comfortable with it, but one day I will.
It's good.
So you mentioned you're a big like film and fan. So if you were to able to pick, a TV show maybe that you love that you could get to star on, or maybe just an actor or somebody you could work with, who would you choose, or what show?
Oh man, that's such a crazy question. There's just so many. I grew up, I became such a film of 70s American cinema. So I grew up with a lot of movies like Taxi Driver, The Godfather, like The Deer Hunter, like very kind of like anti-hero heavy, gritty, complex films of the 70s, when you had people like, Martin Scorsese, Brian De Palma, even Steven Spielberg at the time. I would just love to work with one of them one day in any kind of capacity, in terms of direction. And in terms of like shows, it may surprise you, but like, I don't really watch much TV, or when I watch some streaming, they're typically already in the can and done. But I've been watching, what have I been watching recently? The Last of Us, I think, is really great. And I would love to do something that's kind of post-apocalyptic. But
my husband's very into that show right now. He tries to tell me about it all the time.
It's on my list. I haven't started yet, but I need to.
Yeah.
I've heard everybody's obsessed with it. We should get on that, ladies.
That'll be next.
Oh,
Yeah, we
Luigi, you
watch-
just made us start another group.
Oh no.
We watch far too much TV. So far too much.
I imagine as an actor, when you're not really watching things just so you can watch TV and get you have these ideas of projects or type of projects or actors or people that you'd want to work with, and that's probably likely more. Does that more direct how you watch things of, I really want to see what this guy's doing right now. I love how he acts, and so I'm going to dig into this project that he's just done or whatever.
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah, there's a lot of people that I really like. Adam Driver's work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's someone that I would really love to work with one day. Absolutely. I always find him very captivating.
Mm-hmm.
Michael Shannon
Mhm.
is
Oh,
somebody
he's so great.
who
Yes.
I greatly admire. He's man, he doesn't have to do much, does he?
No.
Really
No.
interesting. And I really, really admire that, especially because he's a Chicago guy, and I really look up to his career. Mhm.
I did want to ask you one question because you brought it up, and I was trying to control my facial expression. I couldn't really. But
I
you
saw
said, you said you loved the Deer Hunter. Can you tell me why? Because I'll tell you, I was so invested when I was watching that movie, and I was on the edge of my seat the whole time, and I was so excited. It was so good. And then that ending, and I was so angry that I have refused to watch it ever since.
You know, it's so ingrained. The movie's so ingrained in me, and I just think in like cinema history that you think about it, and there's no other way that movie could have ended. It really, you know, for it to be as effective as it was. I like the grittiness of it. I love the my father is a hunter, so it was very, like, when I watched it was very personal. I enjoyed that it's a war film, but it's so much more than that. It's a film, close-knit group of friends from Pennsylvania, which that was my childhood. Now, granted, I never went to war, but like I got their connection. I got their brotherhood. But I also got their complexity with each other. You know, Robert De Niro's relationship with Meryl Streep, knowing his best friend Christopher Walken's relationship with Meryl Streep, like that's real. And I found the acting, the whole first part of that movie at the wedding scene seems so real.
Yes.
It really struck me about what acting could be. It was so free, it was so loose, that it was really inspiring. Really, like, it was one of those first moments for me to be like, oh, film can be that. It could just look, it doesn't even look like they're acting.
Yeah.
They're so
Definitely.
invested in their character, they're so invested in the story and what the story is. Not to mention that I'm just also a huge Robert De Niro fan, especially.
Who isn't?
See, when I watched it, my love with Christopher Walken was very high because I just liked anything he did because he's goofy, and
He's beautiful in that. He's so beautiful in that.
Yes.
And it's a testament, I suppose, to good writing that they made me so angry at that ending that I won't watch it again because I was so invested in these people. Is that something you're drawn to? Is that kind of script, that kind of work? Is that something you look for?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm very drawn to, complex characters. I don't like characters that could just be like one thing. That's not interesting. It's what I really like about Sean and the kind of vagueness of his story as of right now, where it's like, right now he's very much a person that wants to do right. He wants to do right by his dad. He wants to lead a normal, clean life, but we still don't really know where he came from yet.
Yeah. Oh, I'm so interested to hear that backstory.
There's a little bit of mystery to him, or a human complexity to him.
Do they let you sort of create the backstory for him, or is this something that they gave you maybe a little bit of information of, just so you know this is where Sean came from, or are they just kind of letting you loose with that?
Not necessarily. I kind of have to pick up on these clues like within the text to make it reasonable. And for whatever I don't really discuss anything with them or the writers. So whatever I come in with on that day, if it doesn't work, they're gonna tell me. If it's working, then they'll be like, yeah, try this or try that.
Now, before I became someone of faith, I was an addict. So I think for me, watching Sean play this out, I think you play it really, really relatable in how an addict is kind of stuck, and it's not really their fault that they're stuck because they're in the throes of it. but that desire to be better, that desire to come out of it. And I think that comes across really well, especially in your scenes with Steven, when he's got this, it was the last one you were in, when he had accused you of being on drugs and you weren't, you were just helping that friend out. That battle to appear better than you are when you're getting better and having people not fully believe that you are is something that's so real. And I so admire how you played that. Did you pull from a personal experience or someone that you knew, or someone that somehow you've seen a story about that? Where did you pull that from?
Yeah, there are people, that I know. I think a real aim for me was not to play into any kind of stereotype.
Mm-hmm.
Have Sean come across as like a real human being with real struggles. Something that also helped me in that episode, there was something in the script that said that I drove a snowplow in Alaska for a year.
Mm-hmm.
And researching it, I found out that there is a huge population of alcoholics and addicts in Alaska because of shorter days, long winters.
That makes sense.
A lot of darkness. And that really kind of like, whether or not this has anything to do with his story, but it made sense to me that this was a guy who may deal with a kind of depression, either that what has to deal with his environment or how he grew up, or the heavy handing of my father, Stephen.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was important to me to like not kind of go in there and like look a certain way or have a certain mannerism that shows like, oh, this person is a drug addict, because what is that?
Yeah. It's different for everybody, for sure.
It's different for everybody, and it's human. It's
Mm-hmm.
I will tell you that is one of the first scenes that, I mean, I've been emotional in your storyline from start to finish, but when there was something so beautiful, and I know that part of that was writing, but part of it was how you played it off when you came out of the truck, and you weren't like, hey Dad, I did this. But there was something so beautiful. Oh, I'm getting emotional talking about. I did this when we recorded the recap of this too. I got emotional talking about this part. But when you came out of the truck, and it was just known through Hannah that you were the one who went and drove and picked them up. And no, you didn't say anything. You weren't like, look at me. And there was just something so beautiful about how you and Steven reacted in that moment. That was just that. I don't even know how to describe it, but it was just beautiful how you guys played that off. And even the expression on your face as you looked at Steven, there was something so pure and humble about it. And I think that that's something that gets lost when you're talking to actors sometimes, that you forget that all of them is in that character in that moment. It's not just you're saying the words. You have to put like all of you into that. It has to come across fully. And you did such a great job with that.
Yeah, I also really thank you. Thank you very much. It's very sweet of you to say. There's also a humility about Sean.
Mm-hmm.
There's something in him that, again, really wants to make good, do better, but not cry to the heavens or scream it from a mountaintop.
Yeah.
There's a very interesting the very first scene I did for the show, the scene that I auditioned actually in prison with Steven. I had a line, Steven comes in, he wants to fix it. So like, I'll get you the lawyer, I'm gonna do this.
Mm-hmm.
And Sean's response is, I'm cool with it. Almost a surrendering of like, I did what I did and I deserve it, so I'm gonna stick it out.
Yeah.
And you don't have to hold my hand through this, you don't have to fix it for me. I did what I did, I made my bed. I'm gonna lie in it.
So is that something that you carry over into all your scenes with Sean from that first scene you had, as you carry over that was a choice you made to carry the humility?
I think that line to me is still kind of like haunts me in a good way. And I still come back to it at times. And it's not even fully answered for me, but I always come back to that line and that question for myself of, why did you want to stay in there?
Mm-hmm.
Why did you? That really fascinates me about him.
That's awesome. It comes across very well. I think that's one of the reasons we fell in love with your character, honestly. So that's really awesome. So we had some social media questions.
Oh boy.
And And actually, before we dig in, I wanted to ask you one question, because you said in the beginning of our interview, you said that you used to do these scripts when you were younger. Did you happen to record any of those little movies that you did before? Is there a tape somewhere that exists of your original like screenplays?
Yeah, they're lost, but
Oh,
will hopefully never see the light of day.
are they lost by design, or are they genuinely like?
They're genuinely lost, and I'm very happy for them to be lost and hopefully destroyed.
That's something
like too many reputations are at stake. I got a buddy who was an NFL quarterback who like we're all very fine with those movies never ever being seen again.
I remember those days when I was like, that's what we used to do when I was a kid, is we would write these really stupid screenplays and record them like we knew what we were doing. We had no idea what we were doing.
Well, hell,
Ridiculous.
at least you wrote them. We didn't write anything. We were just like, yeah, this is what happens in this scene. Go ahead.
That's great. It's perfect.
I like it.
Works, you know?
You got to be
Improv.
in the moment. Exactly. In the moment. Improv.
Right,
Exactly.
exactly.
That prepared you for your role in these shows.
Yeah.
So our first social media question comes from Eve. She said, out of everyone in the one Chicago franchise, including PD Medfire, who are you most looking forward to getting the opportunity to work with?
Oliver Platt.
Oh, yes.
Absolutely.
I have not
Yeah.
met him yet, and I've been a fan of Oliver Platt since as far back as I can remember. And he's been in so many great things, but the two that keep popping up for me are obviously JFK, but Flatliners. Y'all see
I've never
Flatliners?
seen that.
Oh, that's a good one.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is a good one.
Kiefer Sutherland,
Ooh.
Julia Roberts.
So good.
It's a really cool kind of like sci-fi thriller about a group of med students who want to expand the time of death before you can bring someone back, and see if they can see what happens after death. And they keep trying to like expand it, and like how long do you keep someone dead before you revive them? And it's affect them. It's really, really cool.
Mhm.
I'm gonna have to watch that now. I usually have a pen and paper next to me, and I don't have it.
JFK. I don't think he's not in JFK, right? It's another.
It's another president, probably.
Yeah, I don't remember.
It's another trial film, and it's escaping me right now.
I've got to look him up now.
I was gonna say it's gonna bother me.
Is it the one with Matthew McConaughey and Samuel L. Jackson?
Oh, I think
Maybe
actually it is.
Time to Kill.
A Time to
Yes,
Kill.
That's what I'm thinking.
I may be getting confused. Anyway,
No.
love Oliver Platt.
He's great.
I'd love to meet him. I think he's a fantastic
Yeah.
guy.
I know.
We-
I loved him in The Three Musketeers. When we first started watching this,
Oh
I was like,
gosh,
"Oh,
yeah.
I love it." So it's one of my favorites.
Right.
And it's like we are all big Dr. Charles fans, and certainly Oliver Platt fans. And I love that that's your answer, because that is Eve's favorite character from Chicago Med is Dr. Charles. She loves him. He was in A Time to Kill.
It wasn't a Time to Kill. Yeah, that's exactly what I was
You
thinking.
were right.
Mhm. Good job. Okay, I feel satisfied now.
Now we're-
What is the bear? Why have I not heard of the bear before?
Oh,
It's
It's
with
on-
really
it's good.
great
What's his
series
name?
about a chef
it's with Jeremy Allen White.
Jeremy
Yeah.
Allen White, that's
him.
right.
comes back to Chicago. He's like this big time, well-trained chef, comes back to Chicago to take over his brother's old Italian beef joint. And it's amazing. It's very fast-paced, very, I mean, it's got everything.
I can watch
It's-
almost anything about a chef. Like
Mhm.
fake fiction, nonfiction. I don't care. I will watch anything about a chef, especially Chicago,
Right.
because when we go there, Amanda and I, we go to a convention every year because for our podcast, one of the shows we talk about is in there. So I went there with Amanda first, and we partook of all the amazing restaurants in Chicago. And that
We're
was
both big foodies.
yes.
This is a great food town.
It,
So
until I went with Jeanette, who is not a big foodie,
I'm
and I was
picking
very
something.
limited on
Chicken
what I was
nugget
allowed to
person.
eat.
We were too busy chasing down the Chicago Firecast all day to find food anyway. So.
Our next social media question comes from Shelby, and she asks, where do you hope to see your character's story going?
Ooh. Huh.
Obviously, without spoilers, we know you
Yes.
can't.
Right.
but
I have to try.
In
and
a
find-
dream world, where would you like to see Sean Archer go?
Well, it's hard to say because it is a show that centers around a hospital,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm not a doctor in the show, so it's really kind of like hard to see like, well, how do they keep someone on the show
Yeah.
who's not a doctor? But as long as they keep Steven on, I would like to continue to be a either positive or negative experience to his character. I would like to see a little bit more downs with Sean.
Mm-hmm.
We started on a little bit of a down. Now he's on an upswing. I'd like to see a little bit more of a roller coaster, to be honest.
Okay.
To see we've seen him do good. I'd like to see him maybe disappoint. Who knows? Just make it complicated.
That's real life when it comes to an addict.
Right.
Absolutely.
Always a roller coaster.
No, we were actually talking about this on when we were recapping your episode 2 weeks. I mean, I know it wasn't your episode, but the one that you had a heavy storyline 2 weeks ago.
Yeah,
it's your episode in our head. But Maggie's husband was a school teacher, and he managed to be on the show
all the time.
We still can't figure out how he got away from school so often, but he was on there all the time.
Right. No, I mean that's a best case scenario, right?
Exactly.
Hanging on.
You just keep dropping people off at the hospital.
Well, another thing is the last episode that I was on. Now I'm starting to meet other people who work there. I get to meet Hannah. I don't know if anything's going to go in that direction, either platonic or romantic or whatever. I just know that
now you've put an idea in our head that we're going to be shipping. Yeah,
Sean's life, so. And I was really happy for that, for as much as don't get me wrong, love working with Steven, but like up until the last episode, all of my scenes were only with Steven. Mm-hmm. So I now I would like to have at least the joys of working or having scenes with the other people on the show. And it just happens to be the first one,
I kind of really like the idea of Sean and Hannah now.
Now I've got a Hannah Sean ship in my head.
Yeah. Who knows?
They have a similar history, so
they do.
True.
But I don't know if two addicts should
be good,
together.
could be bad.
Maybe not so soon after recovery.
That'll be a roller coaster.
Yeah.
See, you want another down. There it is, right there. Our next question was, now you grew up in Scranton, which is amazing. Did you see anybody from the office there? Do they all secretly live there?
Nobody lives there.
Even film there.
No.
Do they really call it the Electric City?
They do.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure if that was something they made up for the show. That rap that Dwight and Michael sang, which is maybe the most amazing piece of music I've ever heard.
You're gonna have to check me on this one, but as far as I know, or at least the story I was told, is that it's called the Electric City because when electricity was first starting to be used more and more, we were one of if not the first cities to completely go all in on electricity.
That makes sense. That makes sense for that area.
Yeah.
I'm not good with geography, but I feel like Scranton is close to Philadelphia-ish.
2 hours.
Okay.
Which is where I went to school.
Yes. You went to Temple University, right?
I did. You want to hear another really cool fact about Scranton?
Yes.
Always.
The song Winter Wonderland was written in Scranton.
Ooh, I like that little tidbit of information.
It was written, I believe, by a man Scranton used to have this hospital for patients. The actual word I'm thinking of is for consumption. I forget the name, what kind of hospital it was,
Okay.
but they had a special hospital for people with consumption who basically went up there to die. But it overlooked the entire city. And Scranton gets some really beautiful, wonderful winters.
Oh,
Yeah.
Nice.
And
Interesting.
and I don't know if anybody out there, you three are Harry Chapin fans at all, but the song 30,000 Pounds of Bananas is about Scranton, Pennsylvania. A guy who dies in a truck accident hauling bananas.
Oh my God.
it's so sad.
It's an amazing poem. Look it up if you haven't heard it. It's
I will
really,
do that.
What is it called?
30,000 pounds of bananas. I think I'm getting the
30,000 pounds of bananas. I
30,000
don't want to
pounds.
laugh at that, but I'm laughing at it a little bit.
I think you're meant to. I think you're
Okay.
meant to laugh. 30,000 pounds of bananas, Harry Chapin.
I'm
that up.
gonna have to look
Definitely
that up now.
looking that one up.
Yeah.
We're gonna
Yes.
actually put that as a jingle at the end of this podcast. At the end of this interview.
You're welcome, Harry. And that is my encyclopedic knowledge of
Fantastic.
Great.
Now, you, I was doing a little research on you, and I saw that you were very accredited in doing Shakespearean theater, and you've been in
Yeah.
different places where you've done that. Do you have a favorite Shakespeare play to be in, or that you've been in?
There's so many I haven't even done yet. Favorite
Is there one you'd
Shakespeare.
love to be in?
I mean, I'd love to do Hamlet.
Yes.
Let me think. Othello, it was one of the standouts for me that I remember doing. I love doing Othello. I did Othello twice.
Oh.
Once in Philly, once here in Chicago. I played Cassio.
You played Cassio in both productions?
Yeah.
Oh, that's neat.
I really love Shakespeare's comedies, and you know, it could be quite a challenge to come. His comedy can be quite a challenge to come across today. But Midsummer Night's Dream, I love doing. Two Gentlemen of Verona, I had a blast.
Yep. That's one of my favorites.
And the Comedy of Errors, but I have really good memories of doing Two Gentlemen of Verona and the people I did that. Yeah.
Awesome. All right, we've got two more social media questions. The next one is, you performed in theaters from DC to Pennsylvania to Chicago. What was the most electrifying part of performing in those? Was there like a different dynamic or audience vibe in those different but enormous cities? Yeah,
they're very, very different cities. I loved and still love working in them because they're very different. And they each come with their own vibe. You know, Philly has its vibe, DC has its vibe, Chicago certainly has its vibe. They each have their own, you know, kind of food. I think, and their own history.
Yeah.
I love going to these cities and going to new cities and learning about their culture, their history, what it's like there. The benefit of, you know, me moving around a lot back in the day was just getting to experience. I love just getting into adventures and getting lost, seeing sights. In terms of audience, I don't know. I don't think there's too much of a difference between audiences. Chicago, I really love working in Chicago because I feel like it's a very gritty city. It's a very gritty theater scene, and I like that. I like it that it's a little dirty in the best of ways. You know, they have a great storefront theater community. There seems to be theater happening everywhere. So, yeah. Now,
obviously where I live, Chicago is like the place where we go for like big city things, because that's, I mean, that's where it's at. And I have a friend who she went to Trinity College in just outside of Chicago. And she had mentioned that it's so fun to go see Broadway shows in Chicago because it's very similar to the kind of shows that they would put on in New York Broadway. Is that
Mhm.
something that you found to be sort of true? Like you get the same sort of caliber in Chicago?
Oh, yeah, I absolutely think so. I don't think I think the work that's being done in Chicago is tremendous and absolutely comparable. The work that they're doing here is wonderful, and not to poo-poo New York at all. I mean, New York's New York.
Yeah.
and
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
renowned, but don't underestimate Chicago when it comes to their actors.
Okay. Awesome. My daughter is very into theater and musicals, so I'm
Oh,
always looking for new things to take her to. So Chicago's our option. The last social media question we have for you is, what was an experience that impacted you most while performing at Temple University? Was there a defining like aha moment for you?
I wonder if I know the person who wrote that question.
I don't have a name. It was just a question that we have in there.
Yeah. When I was a junior there, I had the wonderful opportunity to study abroad in England for a year.
Ooh.
And that impacted me greatly. There was something that was an experience where just simply watching the work that was being done, I felt made me a better actor. Look, I didn't grow up watching a lot or going to the theater a lot at all. I mean, there were moments, my mom would take me on bus trips to New York and see some things, but I was very much movies. Movies were my thing. So when I got a chance to go to England, London specifically, and see the work that was being done there, and to see how much and how important it is to their culture and their society there, just opened my eyes in a way where I by osmosis, I just got better, felt myself getting better watching it and being like, oh, it was my aha moment. It was my, oh, it can be this. That impacted me profoundly.
I can absolutely see that. We took a friend of ours on a whim, went to London. We were in college and we're like, let's just go spend a week in London. And we did it. And I remember sitting in, it wasn't the actual Globe. It was the Globe Theater they have in London, like the imitation one.
Yeah.
And just sitting in those seats, it was a very sort of emotional out of body experience almost, where you're just like, the things that have been done here. And it was very profound.
100%. I saw Troilus and Cressida there, and what was I saw one other, and Pericles there, and not only just the Shakespeare. I mean, it was definitely the most eye-opening. Like, oh wow, this is like Shakespeare doesn't have to necessarily be hoity-toity. They did Shakespeare in such a real way because it is so them that it broke everything open for me. Everything.
That's awesome. Great. Well, Amanda has her favorite part of our interviews. This is a section she created for our interviews. So
She's my favorite.
It is.
I'm the fun one.
Actually, that's true. We did request her to do a couple podcasts by herself just so we could watch and be entertained, but she hasn't been willing to do that yet.
Sure.
I already do 3 different ones. Okay. So these are just fun rapid fire questions. It's just like blank or blank, and you just answer as fast as you can which one you'd pick.
Oh man, okay.
It's a good friends.
If you don't go like fast, it's okay.
All right.
Yeah,
well,
you can like.
I want to try and do it.
So we'll just do a little bit of them. All right. Chocolate or vanilla?
Chocolate.
Sour or sweet?
Sweet.
That looked
Depends on
painful.
Dog or cat?
Dog.
Toast or eggs?
Eggs.
Cardio or weights?
Weights.
I hate weights.
I hate running, so it would be weights for me.
I'll be on a treadmill all day. I don't like
Oh.
doing weights. I have to be better about that.
Mm.
Facebook or Instagram?
Oh gosh, neither really.
I
I've
get
been more
it.
active. I've been more active on Instagram lately, only because I think I've only had Instagram for a year. But I don't know. Social media, whatever.
Yeah.
Next.
It's a requirement for your job, and that's it.
Amen.
Yep. Music or podcasts?
Music. No offense.
It's okay.
None taken.
We
That's
know it
fine.
would be FFC if you chose podcasts.
Of course. Of course. Cake or pie?
Pie.
That's my answer too. Tea or coffee?
Coffee.
Yes.
Coffee.
Sorry.
Black cinnamon and a little tab of butter in it. That's how I take
Butter.
it. Oh, just a
It's
just a
really good. Marina,
It
you haven't
is.
had it.
Mhm.
I just
Yeah.
do black with a little bit of sweet cream, and that's it.
There you go.
I do sugar in the raw and half. I'm pretty boring. Oh my gosh. Laundry or dishes?
Laundry.
The two most hated chores.
I know.
You did not look very pleased to make that decision.
Yeah, right.
We're just gonna do a few more.
Sure.
Creamy or crunchy peanut butter?
Crunchy.
This is a surprisingly hot topic question that we ask
It
people when we
is.
interview them.
It is.
I just recently started eating more crunchy. It's funny that you even brought that.
You just switched.
We have people
Um,
inside your house, apparently.
Cookies or brownies?
Cookies.
Yes. Ooh. Saturday or Sunday?
Saturday.
Pickles or olives?
This is my favorite.
Olive.
Do you have a
Olives.
favorite type?
Oh, the stronger the better. Like the purple, the
Kalamata olives.
olives. Like
Those are my favorite.
The Greek ones.
Whatever makes it feels like it just punched me in the mouth.
Yes.
Those I love.
I've been on a big
like-
olive kick lately.
Yeah, I can't do black. I don't like black olives so much because
There's not enough of a kick to them.
They're
there's
kind of boring. They're the boring olives.
yeah.
The garlic stuffed green ones are super
Those are the ones I'm obsessed with right now.
Blue cheese stuffed green ones.
good. Those are the ones we get. Yep.
real-
Those are
Yep.
the only ones we get. We're snobs when it comes to
Great.
that.
I know. I was never like I always loved olives, but I was never like sit down and like eat olives.
Oh, but those,
So you're a
yes.
pickle person then.
Even with pickles, like I've just never been like either. Like I love
That's
pickles
sad.
and I love olives. I've just never been a snacker on them, but now I am.
Oh, I dig pickles, but that's also another recent thing. I did not like pickles growing up.
I liked
love
pickled
pickles.
juice better than pickles growing up.
Sure,
Right.
sure.
I'm the type of person who will also like cut a lemon in half and eat it with no facial expression. Like
Ah.
I love if it's sour, the better for me.
Wow.
And last one, we're gonna do burgers or tacos.
Oh.
We stumped him.
Wow. Burgers.
Burgers on tacos.
Burgers. Yeah, right. Burgers in or tacos in fried burgers. I'm
I do
gonna
have
have
one more.
We have a
But
follow
I
up to
go
this
nuts-
question.
I go nuts with my burgers. Like I love I like a fried egg on there. I like thick cut bacon on there, mushrooms, onions, lettuce, and like anything you could imagine putting on a burger. Even peanut butter on a burger. is
Really?
absolutely delicious.
I'm
Like,
gonna
right
try
here
that.
next
As
to
a
us, we call it a-
condiment or like made with the burger?
No, it's like put on there like as instead of mayo, you put peanut butter.
Really?
We
And
call it the
sometimes
hangover burger.
if I'm making a homemade burger,
Mhm.
like actually like patting it and everything, I put cheese on the inside.
Yes.
Mhm.
The
Yep.
cheese uses into
Yep.
the. We could have a whole other interview about my food preferences or talking about I love food. I love cooking.
See, I
Us
have a
too.
hookup because my brother is a master cheesemaker in Wisconsin, and he
Oh,
runs
wow.
he
That's
runs
not true
a
at
Sartori
all.
cheese plant. So like I get like the best cheeses from him, and it's so good stuffed in a burger. My favorite right now, I'm on a kick of it's garlic and herb Montemori, I think. And he's got an espresso rubbed one. Oh my gosh, they're so good in burgers. I mean, they're good on their
Something
own.
That sounds so good.
Something that absolutely blew my mind when I worked up in Wisconsin a few times, up in Milwaukee, was fried cheese curds. Oh my
Yes.
goodness.
Oh, so good.
Oh my goodness.
I
Yeah.
made Jeanette try those when we were in Chicago.
Those were delicious. I was cool with that. I said I'll eat anything fried. That's fine. I'm from the
Yay.
South, so like fried, anything fried is fine.
We fry everything.
Mhm.
I dig Wisconsin. I dig Wisconsin so much. I had nothing but the greatest times in Milwaukee. And I know you don't live in Milwaukee, but that's my
Yeah.
only
Close enough
input
to
in
it.
there. It was kind of a beautiful state. I spent some
Mhm.
time up in Door County, and my
Oh, I
goodness,
love Door County.
I don't think enough of the country knows about how the beauty of Door County, Wisconsin. It's absolutely stunning.
I love that you're saying this because we've been joking for a while that see, Amanda's from Texas and Jeanette's from
Mhm.
Kentucky. So
Okay.
we joke, and we have 2 people in Pennsylvania and 1 in Maryland. And so we joke that we need a compound where all of us are together all the time and we need to relocate. And I'm trying to convince them to come to Wisconsin because I think it's the best state. They won't
Far
budge.
too cold for us.
It's too
We're not doing
cold.
that. We're not doing that.
Look,
Texas, Kentucky, no.
in the spring or in the summer, you should all get together, have a little reunion up in Door County. And
See?
you'll-
Luigi says.
That's
Mm.
fine. I
But
just don't
then
want to be there in the
January
winter.
rolls around, and then it's like, no, I've got to go back home. I can't do this.
Sure. Yeah, totally. I couldn't agree more with you. Get the hell when the winter.
Exactly.
We have one more follow-up rapid fire that we ask everybody, and it's our favorite question to ask.
Oh boy.
We can't take credit for it. We were at a convention and heard somebody ask this. Are you gonna ask
Oh,
Alright.
yes. Do you eat your tacos from the left or the right? He'll never
That's so
forget us.
fascinating. I never. Oh.
Yep, you're gonna have to do it. We
Yeah.
all had to do it.
Our favorite part is watching people mime it out to see what
I go this. I go this. I go this way. I go to the left.
Now you're gonna
I
think
like
of
the
that
left too.
every time you're eating a taco. You're gonna think, oh, look at that. I do that.
But it can only be happening with crunchy tacos, because I feel with soft tacos it's
Just
just
go.
straight
Yeah,
back
straight
to
in.
fork,
Straight on.
Yep.
straight
Yeah.
in. But a
Yeah.
crunchy taco, oh my gosh, yeah, I go to the left.
Someone once told me they ate it from the top, and it still disturbs me to this day.
That's
That
not how
doesn't
you eat
make
taco.
sense.
I'm like, you're
That
eating
doesn't
lettuce
taste-
and sour cream?
It almost makes me mad.
So this is just like our final question we always ask our interviews. This is just kind of your opportunity to tell us about any upcoming projects that you have. I think I might have seen that you might have something in pre-production. I don't know how much you can say about it.
Yes. I just did my first film. It's starring Josh Radnor, Rob Hubel, and directed by Hula Rose, called All Happy Families, also co-written by Corbin Gross. And it's don't know when it's coming out, but it's an amazingly funny and heartfelt family family comedy, going through a lot of important changes in their life. Takes place in Chicago, and I think people are really.
Awesome.
There's a lot of good things coming out of Chicago, I've seen, or a lot of good films being done in
There is.
A lot
Chicago.
lately.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, it's cool. All right, well, we want to thank you so much for being on our podcast with us. It was a really
for
great
having
fun talking with you, and we learned a lot.
Yeah.
And it's when Sean gets a more permanent role, we're gonna have you back on and be like, all right, how have things changed?
Yeah. No,
We're gonna do that.
Do you want to? I was gonna say, do you want to share? I know you said you kind of hate your social media, but would you like to share your Instagram so that others can follow you and kind of keep up to date with what you're doing?
oh yeah, sure. Yeah. Please follow me. I have to look. I mean, I think if you just put my name in there, you'll definitely find me. Where are you? It's Luigi Sottile, just one, LuigiSottile_actor. Very
There you
Simple
go.
enough.
Very-
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, boom, I'm following. I'm
Is that
I'm
what you
horrible
are?
about being on Instagram.
Is that what you are for all your socials? Luigi Sottile, actor.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. No,
I only have Instagram and Facebook, so
Oh, okay.
yeah.
That's good to know that if there's anyone on Twitter saying they're you, it's not you, or on TikTok, it's not
Oh
you.
yeah. Nope, not me at all.
Good to know. Well, we thank you so much for coming on. It was an absolute delight talking with you. I really had a lot of fun. So thank you for that. And watch Chicago Med. It comes out on Wednesdays at 6/7 Central. Nope, that's not the right time.
Nope.
7/6 Central.
There you go.
I know math.
There you
So
go.
watch that on Wednesdays. Also catch up on Chicago PD, Chicago Fire. They all play in quick succession on Wednesdays. And you can catch our Facebook on anything you search. Go to Chicago Family Fan Club. You can find us there. Anything you search for Family Fan Club, you'll find any of our 5,000 Facebook groups. We're also on Instagram and TikTok and Twitter under Fan and Family Chats. So we look forward to hearing from you, and we'll see you real soon. All right.
Nice
Have a
talking.
great Sunday.
Thank you.
You
Bye.
too.
Bye.
Bye.
Loving our content? Subscribe to our YouTube channel and don't forget to share our podcast with your family and friends. We want to continue the conversation with you. You can find us on Instagram, Twitter, or TikTok under Fandom Family Chats, or one of our ever-growing Facebook groups by searching Family Fan Club. We've also launched a website, FamilyFanClub2021@wixsite.com. You can email us there and keep checking it for announcements and merch coming soon. And of course, be sure to tune in every week for new episodes discussing all your favorite shows.